Hey everyone, hopefully you're having a good day. My name is Andy. My channel is Finding Value. If you guys like looking for undervalued investment opportunities, click subscribe, join our community. I talk a lot about undervalued assets, mainly in commodities, because that's just where they're at right now. And the market conditions also support those types of assets. So today I want to talk about something that's a little bit different. I'm looking at things from a different perspective. I do this all the time. I hold like 5 different viewpoints in my head all at once, and sometimes I go crazy. So it's just the way that I'm wired. I try to look at something from all these different viewpoints. It's like if you put something up here, I'm looking at it from these viewpoints all the way around. And certain things pop in my head. I don't know what it is. I just look at things and I say, well, maybe they're doing this. So I'll start with this. I did watch one video and something like triggered this thought. It was about an intangible asset. An intangible asset is Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies, and a lot of other things that are like software driven that are intangible. And an intangible asset is an asset that lacks physical substance. And there's a bunch of different examples. It's a lot of software stuff, but Bitcoin is an intangible asset. Same with all the cryptocurrencies. Now, if I were a government, and let's say I want to print a ton of money, let's say we have a problem, and you want to control inflation, how do you do it? How do you do it? Now, let's say you know, because you've been on the channel, you know what causes inflation. What causes inflation? Real estate, right? The more money coming into the system through real estate. And then we've got intangible assets. Intangible assets can soak up currency and not move the real physical items. And another way that you can do it is you blow up the derivatives market and you make derivatives markets much larger than the physical markets so paper can absorb paper. So I'm going to look at this from like a perspective that's a little bit deeper than maybe other people kind of notice. So here's something that I've noticed. Everything in life, if it's like the Federal Reserve, and maybe this happens, maybe it doesn't. This is. I'm just going out on the ledge. I'm not speaking here in terms of certainties. I'm speaking in terms of just throwing ideas out. All right. Let's say you're going to have a problem. The first thing you need to do, and I don't know what the problem is let's say you need to stop velocity. You need to slow things down. How do you do it? Well, the first thing you do is you could create something like COVID. And you could say, well, we're going to keep everybody stopped for 2 months, and we can literally slow the velocity of money way down. Check. Before this, we need to make sure that people have confidence in our currency. So we need to basically somehow control the markets of precious metals, because that used to be money. And the way that we can do that in a couple of different ways. One way is we can create a derivatives market, which is much larger than the physical market. So basically, and you can resolve it through paying the derivatives off in paper. So you've got this big physical market that's just a bunch of derivatives. So you've got paper absorbing paper. You can get a whole bunch of paper into the derivatives market, and you can blow the derivatives market 100, 200 ounces to every 1 ounce of physical. So you're having paper absorb paper in the derivatives market, and if something happens, we can pay them off in paper. Then you can create ETFs. We'll put the custodian as our buddies or banks. Other banks can be the custodian, and we can absorb paper with paper. So more paper comes into ETFs, more paper comes into derivatives. We absorb it all, right? So we've got the gold, silver, precious metals market. Well, that's covered. And we've got our short-term problem covered with COVID. We can just shut everything down. If it's a COVID-induced, starting, like someone started it. Remember, I'm just throwing out ideas. Then we can create a cryptocurrency 5-10 years, because if we're getting into high debt problem areas, and inflation won't be noticed in the real world if we can create an intangible asset named cryptocurrencies or Bitcoin to absorb more paper with an intangible asset. So the price of that can go through the roof, but it's not really going to affect the inflation in the real world, because everyone is not putting their money towards a real asset. We're using this intangible asset right here to absorb all of the paper with. So we've got the derivatives market to absorb paper. We've got ETFs to absorb paper, even though they may or may not back it with gold. We're setting up these intangible assets over here to absorb more paper. And we can slow the velocity of money down by saying, hey, look, everybody, wear your mask, don't go out 6 feet, don't go on trips, slow it all down. So the question is, why are they slowing it down? And I don't have the answer there. I don't know why they're doing this. But this could all be tied together. Now, I'm going to go one step further. All right, stick with me. If inflation comes from residential real estate land values, how can you slow down the building of new homes? Well, let's create a shortage in lumber. And what do we have? A shortage in lumber. Now, is this just a coincidence on all these things? I don't know. And they can make up stories. Remember, you can always make up stories where they're trying to manipulate you. We have a shortage. What's driving the prices higher are just shortages. Is it really a shortage, or are you just telling me to think mentally that it is a shortage? It could be a shortage because when you pump the system full of dollars, which I think they have to because they're trying to reduce the level, the relativity of. You need more dollars in the system to pay off the debt, so they got to get dollars into the system somehow. But they're going to say it's a shortage, a supply shortage is driving the prices higher. If you put more money into the system, you have more money in the system per unit of whatever you're trying to measure against that you want to buy. So obviously the price is going to go up. So there's that aspect of it. And I don't know if they're creating all these things like intangible assets over there to absorb paper. I don't know if they got their hands in this COVID thing. I don't know if they got their hands in the lumber thing. I mean, it seems unlikely, but maybe they do. And another thing that I want to touch on is a lot of people take information from the Federal Reserve, from the Treasury, Janet Yellen, Jerome Powell. They want to take information from them. They can't tell you that if something was wrong, they can't tell you something is wrong. If we have inflation and they still need to print more money, they're not going to tell you that we have an inflation problem. They are going to tell you that they are fighting deflation, that we need to do whatever. They have to if they're increasing the money supply. And some people say that they're creating a problem in the dollar to issue in something else, possibly. That's from Gregory Mannarino. When I was listening to him, I listen to him every once in a while. He's a cool guy. But I'm just trying to piece this all together. I'm trying to look at all this from a different perspective, and perhaps maybe they're all tied together. I don't know. I'm not trying to say that they're all tied together. I don't know what's causing all this. But if money is flowing out of intangible assets into something else, I think the tangible assets are going to go way up. So that's my opinion. Take it for whatever it is. If you guys have any comments, let me know what you think. Let me know if you think this is set up like this, or if there's something funky going on. Put it in the comments section. Love to hear what you guys' opinions are. And thank you for listening. This is Finding Value.